Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. So today I'm here again to teach you another interesting topic in Angular. So looking at the video title, you have already guessed that today we are learning this topic which is NGRX store in Angular. So now you will be thinking that why I choose this topic. So basically what I thought that easy topics of Angular can be easily covered if you go on YouTube or you do some little bit of Google also, then you can easily learn the topics of Angular quite easily. And also thanks to our new website of Angular version 17, angular.dev, from there you can go ahead and you can learn a lot of interesting topics like how Angular actually works and whatnot. So I thought let's choose a topic which is quite confusing and it is very much important as well at the same time. So the first topic what it came into my mind is NGRX state management. So NGRX is something which is widely used in enterprise level application to maintain their state. Also recently I have created a YouTube poll. If you see here that I have asked a question, how many of you think that NGRX is difficult, and the number was quite amazing that 42% said that yes it is difficult and 46 were saying that they haven't even used it. And this is because that they don't know the power of the state, how the NGRX maintain the state. So that is the whole and sole reason that today I am here with this interesting topic to teach you. So I promise after watching this video that your understanding for NGRX will be very clear and you don't need to go anywhere else to learn this topic again. So let's first understand that why we need NGRX reactive state for Angular. So it is not always that if the company is asking you in the interview that what is NGRX and then only you should go and learn it. No, that should not be the case. If you are a good Angular developer, then you should be knowing that when and how to use the state management in your application. So this is what we have here on this website NGRX.io, where you can actually click on get started to learn a lot about it. Okay, so we will be discussing everything about how to use this NGRX store, how to use them, how do we install them in your Angular application and start creating your state. So now let's take a use case of this application what we have in front of us, that we have to create an add to cart feature. And now here if you see that here I have a cart component here in the header where it is showing the number of item in the cart. Okay, so whenever I'm clicking on this button, right, what happens, it takes this product, goes here and tells the count of the application, how much the count we have it in the cart. Okay, so what happens, right, so from here we are changing the state. Suppose if I click one more item, so this becomes from 3, this becomes 4. And now also once you click on this icon card button, then what you will do, right, you will redirect to a page where you will have the list of data here. Okay, what are the items you have selected from the product list page, and also you will see the state of this price as well. Whenever you click on the product, right, so it will add and update your price accordingly. Okay, which means that's how you need to maintain your application. This is a different component, this is header component, this is product list component, and this one is your cart component. Okay, so in these 3 pages you need to maintain your data, and to handle this kind of a data it is quite hard for Angular to do. So either if you have heard that how to share data with unrelated components, so we either go with RxJS behavior subject observables, where if you look at this example, right, it will be quite easy to do to create an observable store and pass in the data. But let's imagine if your component is growing and now you have an enterprise level application where you need to maintain the global state. It will become a bottleneck for you guys to do things in the term of the observables. You need to do a lot of coding there, you need to maintain your stores and do whatnot. Okay, so how NGRX is here to help us. Okay, so now we are making use of NGRX to do the similar job what an observable can do, but in a very efficient way. Okay, so now let's first understand this particular diagram, how the life cycle of the NGRX is in front of us. So the main thing what we have is the store. Okay, the store where we maintain the application state. So it's nothing but your app state. Okay, so in this app state you will be maintaining your data. Okay, the data of your complete application. And here 2 things which comes in picture, that this guy which is an action. Okay, now let me take one more very small and easy example so that things can go let's go from basic to intermediate and then we'll go to advanced. So now let's take an example of a counter application. Okay, so now here I have a count here and I have 2 buttons here, increment and I have a decrement. Okay, and I have something called as reset. Okay, so with this 3 button, whenever I press this, I want to change the state from 1 to 2. As per that, once you click on button, the state will get changed. Okay, whenever you press increment, it will increase the state of that. If you press decrement, the value will get decreased, and if you click on reset, this state will become 0. Okay, so something like that we need to achieve it by using NGRX. Okay, so now let's see how this architecture comes in action. So now the first thing first, right, as I told you, right, we need to create some actions. Okay, so in the NGRX we will create some actions. Okay, for example, what will be our actions? Our actions can be increment, okay, to increase the state, decrement, like to decrease the value of it, and then we have a reset. Okay, so these three actions I have. So similarly I have to create actions for it, so that based on the action, what will happen, your reducer will act. Okay, so your reducer is nothing but will be there in your architecture to do some manipulation. So this reducer will store all your state values. Okay, and based on this reducer, what reducer does is reducer perform some logic based on the action what it got. Okay, so for example, if you say that increment, please increment the value, so what this reducer will do, this will take your previous state. Okay, and based on previous state it will do some calculation, and here the calculation is that I want the previous state plus I need to add one extra. Okay, because we are doing increment. Okay, so this will increase the state by 1, and once it increase, right, it will send it to your store. Okay, so now this will have your, the store will be updated with all the latest information of your incremented data. In the similar fashion, let's take for the decrement also, it will do something similar. Okay, so now if the user say decrement, then what will happen, the action will trigger this, right, the action will trigger. Now the reducer will take the previous state, and based on the previous state it will minus one data because we are doing a decrement, and once the data is decrement, now again it will go to your store, it will get stored in this store here. Okay, what we have created initially. Now what happens in the reset? Reset is quite straightforward. Okay, what will you do whenever you click on reset, based on whatever the previous value was, please make that value to 0 because the counter starts from 0. Okay, so this is how we will try to handle the data, or you can say state of the application with NGRX. Okay, now this is not done. Okay, so now we have completed this part of the architecture where we have action, where we have reducers. So now let's talk about the most important, this side. Okay, so what will this side will do? Okay, for example, now you have a component to view. Okay, so now you have a component where you want to display your data, correct? You display your counter. Okay, so what we will do, right, suppose you want to display that in an HTML, and in the HTML you have something like this where you are displaying count and like this 1, correct, which means you want to select your data from the store, yes or no? Correct. So you want to select your data, so what you will do, you will create a selector. Okay, you will create a selector, and this selector will what it will do, it will select the value from the store. Okay, it will go in the store, he will say, hey, do you have the selector for the count? He will say yes, I have. Okay, then selector will fetch it and go in the component and display it. So in the component you have the HTML, right? So in the HTML file, it will show the count as 1 because it was there as 1 in the store. So the store will pass data to selector, and the selector will select that particular slice and send it to your component, and your component will view that data. Okay, it will help you to display that data in the HTML. Okay, now if you see this guy, okay, so this is also clear. Now let's talk about this guy. So what happens, right? So in your component.html you will have the 2 buttons as well, correct? So now we are actually displaying the count. Okay, so we have the count here. Okay, we have the count as 1 at the moment, then you have a button 1 and you have a button 2, and all these are part of your component. Okay, so from the component, right, this is a button, which means it will have a action, it will trigger some action, and this will also trigger some action. So based on the click, right, the component is sending the action. Okay, so this will what do, this will dispatch some action. Okay, and based on action the reducer will react. Based on the reactivity, it will go and store the data in the store, and based on whatever data you have in the store, whenever the component selects the data, the selector will help you to, so you will select the data in the component, and this is how the selector will give you the data, whatever it is there inside the store. And this is how the life cycle of an NGRX application goes on. Okay, that's how, if you see this arrows, right, if you see this arrow, okay, let me show it again. So that's how it goes, right? So component, reducer, then this store, then selector, and then again component. So that's how these arrows are going. Okay, yes or no? So this is what the basic fundamental of an NGRX application. And let me tell you that we are just covering the basic of NGRX. That's why I'm not going this part yet. Okay, this part I will cover it in a separate video where I'll talk about the advanced way to handle your data whenever the API calls are involved. Okay, so first of all, let's see how do we maintain the data in the application. Let's take an example. Right now we have a very good example in front of us. Let's start coding and let's see how we can make this counter in Angular by using NGRX. So now let's start the coding by actually creating a new project. So what I'll do, I will not go with ng new and all those commands because I've already created a boilerplate code and this already has Angular material, Tailwind already installed, everything. So what I will do, I will go on my GitHub and I'll just clone this project, run the command git clone, and you can paste this URL and hit enter. So now I'll just go ahead and rename the project from boilerplate to NGRX store YT. Okay, let's hit enter. And let's open up this inside a terminal. I want to use VS Code, so let's do code dot, and I can see that my application is ready, which is already running on Angular version 17, as you can see here. Now all I need to do is just do npm install and we are good to go. Now once you hit npm install, it will take some time as usual, but it will be quite faster if you do with ng new and all that, select the option. So I thought better let's create a boilerplate code and put it on the GitHub. Whenever I need to start with a new project, I can clone it from there. Now I can see the project is ready. Let's do ngserve and let's see how things looks on the UI. The compiler is so fast because of Angular 17 for sure. So now it is running on 4200. Let's go on the browser and let's open up the port 4200, and yes, this is how the template looks like for your Angular material Tailwind. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and create our first component. So for that, let's open up your new terminal, and in that we will hit the command nggc and the name of the component, which is counter. So as you can see, the counter component got created, and now I have to use it in the app component.html so that I can render it. So what I'll do, go in the component.ts file and you need to import it here. So you will say counter component because we are using standalone component, that's why. And now you need to make use of that here, somewhere here. So now what I will do, correct, we have this hero section, which is the center part of the application. This one, I don't need this one. So let me remove that unnecessary things. So we can remove this, and we can also change the title from the nav bar. We can change it to NGRX. Okay, save the changes, and now here we can make use of the selector app-counter, and this should be like, we should be able to see the changes. Now let's go here, and everything is compiled successful. Okay, let's go in the Chrome, and I should be able to see somewhere here, but it is not showing. It's fine. Let's go ahead and add some CSS or HTML to this guy. So as we are using Tailwind CSS, so let me copy paste my code snippet what I had already for the counter. So this is how the counter UI will look like. That it will have a title here on the app, counter app, then it will have the counter number which I want to display, and just below that I have created two buttons, which is the increment, decrement, and reset. Let's save the changes and let's go back on the UI to see how things looks like. Okay, now it is not showing. I don't know why. Let's go in the compiler and try to recompile your code again. Okay, let's do ngserve again. So it's building the application. Let's go back, and yeah, so now I am able to see that I think there is some caching issue happened because we are using wait. So it actually cache your build sometimes. So you need to clear it. So to clear that cache, so you need to again do the ngserve. So now it is fine. So that's how we have this application where we can do increment, decrement, and reset. Okay, so now what I will do, right? So first let's start. See, we can do it directly via the local state of the component, but for example, you want to display it in some another component, then how you will do? So for that, I will be showing it with NGRX. Okay, so now to do the NGRX thing first, you need to install the NGRX package. So how do we install it? Again, go on the official doc and they will definitely give you some installation guide. So here you can see there is an installation guide. Copy this. Okay, so once the command is copied, go into your terminal and paste it. So ng add the rate NGRX/store. So now it will ask you to install. I say yes, and it will install the packages. Should take less than 10 seconds, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, it's done. So now to validate it, you can go in the package.json, and this should reflect the changes somewhere here, the NGRX. Okay, so now it is added successfully. Okay, so let me tell you the way how you should proceed if you are trying to use NGRX into your global, like you're doing state management with NGRX. So first thing first, what you will do, right? You will first create your app state, application state. So to do that, right, let me create a folder. So the folder name I will give it as states. Okay, and inside the state you can create a new file and the file name will be app.state.ts. Okay, so now I will tell you about this file, why I have added that, but yeah, like tell you on the later stage of the video. So the first thing what I need to do, right, first I need to create the actions, correct? So now if you see in the UI, I have 3 actions to do. So if you remember when I was explaining you that installation things, like how things will work and all that, remember the diagram what I was showing? Let me open up the diagram first, and over here, right, this is what I was explaining. So first thing, we need to create the actions, okay, in the NGRX. So to create it, we'll go here and we are creating a state for counter. So I'll give the folder name as counter, okay, and in the counter I will create the first file, counter.action.ts. Okay, so the file is created. So now in the action, what I need to do, I need to create actions, correct? So what, for creating the action, I need something from the NGRX store. So let's import NGRX store. If I say you want to create action, what you should import? I should import create action. Easy, right? So now I'm importing create action, and this will help me to register all my actions what I will be doing. So I need to do that one by one. So first let's create our first action by saying export const, give the name of your action. For me it is increment, okay, and now I will say okay, increment is my action, and let's give it a type, okay, and this should be unique. So let me open up this bracket, and inside that we will give a unique type to it, and this is for counter component. So counter component, okay, there is always a way how you should do it. So this is the way what NGRX has recommended for us to do. So that's what I'm doing here. So that's what we have, and give it the name of your action, which is increment. Okay, so this should be unique. And now let's go for the decrement and reset. So I'll copy paste for both of them. All I need to do, just change the name to decrement, and this will also I will change to decrement. Okay, so decrement has been done. Again, this is for counter component for decrement action. And I think there is some issue with the spelling, so let me change it. Okay, and now this should be changed to reset. So the third action is reset. Again, this, let's change it to reset. Now I can say that my action is ready. See how easy, I will make things easy for you guys, do not worry. So now the action is done. Okay, so now my actions are registered in my store. Okay, what is the next step? So whenever there is some action, the reducer will go to the reducer to do some manipulation, correct? So to do the manipulation, so let's create a reducer. So to create reducer, again I will create a file counter.reducer.ts. okay, now again export what? I want to create a counter state, so let me create that state here. So export interface, okay, counter state, because what this guy is doing, so this guy is maintaining your state and it is doing some manipulation based on that. So that's what I've created a counter state here, and let's give it a name. Let's create a name that I want to maintain something called as count, and whose data type is a number. Okay, so that's what I have created first. So I've created a counter state. Okay, and now what I need to do, right, I need to initialize my state, right? So let me initialize my state again by saying export const initial counter state, and inside that this is of type my counter state what I just created on the top, and based on this interface I need to implement. So the state will be count, this should be equal to, and now we need to say here that initial count is 0. Okay, so this is my interface of counter state, and I'm implementing it here. Like this is the type of my initial counter state, and I'm assigning it the value to it as 0. Okay, if this is clear, right, so now I can say my reducer is maintaining my initial state. Okay, now based on some action, right, my initial state will get changed. Like if I increment, then this count should be 1. If I say decrement, then again this count should become 0, something like that. Yes or no? Now to create a reducer, right, what you will import? You will again import create reducer. Let me import that. So you will say import from, this is again coming from NGRX store, and you want to create reducer, so import the create reducer. So now reducer is correct. Now let's create our own reducer, because we are creating a reducer for a counter. So let's give it a good name. So I'll say export const counter reducer. So let's give it a name. Okay, counter reducer. So again, this is spelling mistake. So COUNTER reducer. Okay, I'm very bad with the spellings, guys. I'm so sorry. Okay, so this is counter reducers, and we want to create. So again, we'll say create reducer. Okay, and inside this create reducer, what it requires, the first thing it requires the initial state, which we have already assigned on the top. So I will assign this value initial counter state, okay, which is this 0. All right, and now as we know that we have events being triggered. Okay, so now I need to register all the events inside my reducer, so that my reducer will listen to those events. Okay, so what I will say here, right, I can say on. Okay, again this is coming from NGRX store on. Inside that you can say that okay, what action you will listening. So I'm saying increment. So this is the which I have created from the action, right? So this is imported from there, this action. Okay, on the top it is imported by default. So increment. So whenever there is an increment, then it will do something with the state. So I will say state. Okay, and now what this guy will do, so we need to return the updated state. So now what it will do, it will take the existing state, which means as I told you, right, the previous state. Okay, and based on the previous state, what you have to do, you have to update your count. What will be the count? So your count is nothing but your state dot count, which is 0 at the moment. Can you please add 1 to it? 1 means I'm incrementing the value. Okay, so whenever there is an increment, so your state will get updated, correct? And how I'm updating the state, I'm saying that based on the previous state, please add extra 1, so that I'm updating the state from 0 to 1 when there is 1 click. Okay, in the similar way, I will register it for rest of the 2 action, which is decrement. Okay, decrement again, see imported on the top. And in the decrement, what you will do, it will similar, right? Just from plus this becomes minus. Okay, but now there is a catch for this one, that whenever you are saying for reset, there is no catch, to be honest. Anybody can guess now that what I need to do. So for a decrement, you will just say that okay, whatever the previous state was, okay, I don't care, can you make this count directly 0? I don't need to do any manipulation because I'm doing a reset. So the reset should make this count as 0. Okay, and in this way that your action and reducers are ready. Okay, so now whenever the action will happen, the reducer will take your previous state and do some manipulation, and it will update the state for you. All right, so now I'm happy to tell that our action and reducers are ready. So now what is the third thing we need to do? We have to make a selector, yes or no? But before that, let me first make the changes here. This should be reset, not decrement. Okay, so that's what. So now we have all 3 actions imported, and now based on the actions we are doing the job. Now to create the selector, let's see what we need to do. Now if you remember that what I was telling you, that this action reducer and this reducer will send the data to the global store, basically your app state, remember? And you remember that I have also created this file app.state.ts. Okay, so now we will make use of this file to create the global state, or I can say to create the application state. So what I will say, I'll say export interface, okay, app state. And inside this app state, what is my first state I want to maintain? I want to maintain it for the counter. So I am saying that, hey, please register a counter state which I have created. See, so this is what I have created, and this is in the reducer. It is there in the reducer, so I have imported it. So this is my first global state, or you can say application state, which I have registered. Okay, now if this is done, if you remember, now we have a global store ready now, which means action will send to reducer, reducer will send to store. Now I have a store also. Now from store, I want to take it to the selector. So now I need to add a selector. Okay, so now till here we are done. So now let's see what is the selector job. So in the counter folder, let's create counter.selector.ts file. Okay, and the selector, let's create the file here. We'll say export const select count, select the counter state. That's it. Now if this is done, now we have to update the counter state. So what I will say, okay, state is of type app state, which we have created here. So I'm importing it here on the top. So whatever the state you have, can you please select it for counter? Okay, so that's what I'm trying to tell him. So can you please return whatever the counter state is to the counter state, like select counter state? I will say yes, why not? I'll say state dot counter state. Now you will have a question, why Shashi you did this only? Like for example, now you're creating a state for cart component, like add to cart component, right? I was telling. So what I will add it something like this. So I will say that now I want to maintain for cart. Okay, now I will give the name as counter, or sorry, the cart state, something like this. Okay, so in future this will grow. Currently we are only showing for one, so it's fine. Maybe in the next video where I will take you to the intermediate level of NGRX. So at that time maybe I will demonstrate an example of this cart counter state, of this cart state, sorry, not the counter, cart state. Okay, now let's see in the selector. So now that's what I said, that okay, please app state whatever the data you have in the counter, send it to the selector. Okay, so now this has been updated. Now whenever my components, so now the job of component wants to select some data. Okay, I want to expose the data, right? So how will I expose the data? Let me show you that. So to expose the data, I will say export const select count. Okay, select count. So this is the guy where we will add the create selector. Okay, create selector, see imported on the top as. And now in this selector, this guy needs two things. Can you please specify the selector for me? I will say yes, it is on the top I have created. So select counter state. So from this counter state, do one thing. Okay, you will have a state maintained. So can you take, so from your state, can you please send the count to the component? He will say yes, why not? Okay, so that's what it is doing. So now here I have the whole counter state, but from the whole counter state, do you need the whole counter state? No, right? You need only the count. Okay, so I want to only select a slice of a data. Okay, from a bigger data, the component only requires the count. That's it. So because this counts, I will be displaying it somewhere here, correct? So your component requires your count number to display it here, yes or no? And based on that, that's what this selector is doing. So your selector is taking from this bigger slice, he's taking the smaller slice which he requires. So that's what this create selector does. Okay, specify the select counter state which has all the data, and from this data, can you please send the required data which I need to display on the UI. That's it. Okay, so once your these three files are created, now you guys are ready to go and use them in your component. Okay, but before that, as you have created a state, so you need to register it in the app.config.ts. Okay, so if you guys are using, I don't know, maybe if you guys are on older version of Angular like 14, 15, so you have to register that in the module, and maybe I can show you the way how to do that, but let me show you how to do things in Angular version 17. So if you haven't even updated your application to 17, please do it, guys. It has a tons of feature for us. Okay, now here you can see this is already added once you install I did the command, right, to install the package. So this by default adds this guy which is provide store from NGRX. Okay, now just below this line we want to provide state. So I will say provide state. Okay, and in this provide state, I need to specify two things. First, the feature name. Okay, which one are you actually looking for? So I'm saying that the name of that is counter. Okay, so for this counter, what is your reducer? For this state, what is your reducer? You need to specify the reducer, then only I can do the manipulation. So okay, you can take all my data from this reducer, which I will just name it. Okay, so reducer, and give you the reducer name what you have created. So the reducer name here is counter reducer. Okay, so let's go here again and call that, because we have exported it, so we can import it again. So counter reduce, and now once you import it, right, now I can say that the configuration is also done and you are good to go, and you can use this in your application. Okay, so this is what the initial stage is. So I know you guys will say that this is a lot of boilerplate code that I need to add to achieve something very small, but trust me guys, when the application grows, right, your state of application will be very hard to maintain if you don't have something centralized way what NGRX provide. Okay, currently I cannot demonstrate that because I have a very smaller application for you to showcase, so that's why. Okay, but this is what the fundamental I want to just demonstrate, like how we can use it in your application. So now it is job of your component to display the count, right, which is currently it is 0 because it is static. Okay, now what I will do, I will create a variable whose name is count, and this is an observable. Okay, so this is an observable of type number. Okay, and now I will take the constructor, and in the constructor let's inject the store. Okay, and the store is coming from NGRX/store. Okay, and inside that you need to specify, okay, which store are you looking for? I'm saying that app state, the global state what I have created. He will say, okay, I have injected that successfully. Now let's initialize your behavior subject, or you can say, sorry, the observable what you have just created on the top. So I will say, okay, I will say this dot store dot select. See, if you see this, right, in this component I'm saying please select from the selector, please select my state. I will say, okay, sure. So now this dot select, please create, like, can you please send the map function for it, like which you have created. Remember, we have created a function here which is exportable. Okay, the select count, this is what we need to place it here in this select. So now I will say select the count. So once you add this, right, if I hover on this, can you see what is the type of this? This is type of observable of number. Okay, so now what I can do, right, I can make use of async pipe. So let me import async pipe and go in the HTML, and over here I can update this by saying count, and I'll make use of async pipe here. Let's save the changes. Let's see if the compilation is success. Yes. And now if you go here, that you can see a count here which is 0. Okay, now for example, why is it 0? Why not it is 10? Because our initial initial state what we have created in the reducer was 0. What if I make this 100 and save the changes? Let's see. Can you see the initial state updates to 100 now? Correct. Now let's see the magic. Now let's again make this to 0. Now as you remember, right, now we have achieved we are able to connect everything. We are able to connect all the dots from component to action, reducer, store, selector, everything is there. Now what is one thing missing here, that this part where I need to dispatch some action from component. Okay, so to dispatch some action, what you'll do, right? So now we have 2 actions button here, like 3 action button basically, which is the first one, this. So I will say click. Okay, on click you want to do increment. Same thing I need to do for this one. Again on click I want to do decrement, and the last button, which is reset, again whenever someone clicks I want to do reset. Okay, now we'll have to create all the necessary method what we have on the UI. So first is increment, so second one is decrement, which I have created, and the last but not the least is the reset. So now I have these 3 function created. Now whenever someone is clicking this function, I want to dispatch a event, and from where this dispatch is coming, again coming from NGRX store, which I can say this dot store dot dispatch. See how easy it is. Dispatch, can you please provide your action which you want to dispatch? I will say yes, I have created 3 actions, right? I want to dispatch action number 1, which is increment. Remember this one, you should not call your own method. Okay, increment, and that's how it is. So this is your action. Same thing you need to do for, okay, again if you are getting confused, this increment I am importing here also. See, state slash counter dot action. So this is coming from our action, which is increment, which we have created here. Please don't get confused. If you're still getting confused, please let me know in the comment section. Okay, so for this one, again I will need to call the decrement. So we have a decrement action again imported here, and the last but not the least, the reset. So I can call the reset here. Again I did the mistake, so reset. Okay, this one. Now save all the changes here. So everything is imported, everything is in place. Compile is also success. Now let's see things in action. Now if I do this increment, right, see what happens. Okay, this is not working, don't know why. See, it is not working. Let me check what is the issue. Alright, so guys, I faced a very weird issue. I don't know, let me share that with you. I did nothing, trust me, I did nothing. I just did stop the application by here, Control C. I did Control C, and then I restarted the application, and now if you see that it is working. Can you see? It's working fine. I don't know, maybe it's because of the build is getting cached already because of wait, new wait, and that's how the behavior of wait is. So I need to disable that for sure. Okay, so now if you see that, now I'm able to see increment, decrement, and I can do reset as well. Okay, now a lot of you can see, Shashi, this, what is a big deal in this, that this you could have done it directly here in this particular component, but that's not the thing what I'm trying to showcase here. See the magic of this increment decrement. Like for example, this data which you see here, if you want to show it over somewhere over here in the header component. Okay, so this is a different component and this is a different component. Now let me show you that how we can achieve it. So now all you need to do is you just need to copy this. Okay, so that I should not create the variable again. I'll go in the component here. Okay, import everything. All right, so now this is how it is. Now I'm inside a different component, which is app component. Okay, and now inside this I can directly use this counter somewhere here near the home. I can create a button, or maybe somewhere here I can display it. Now again I'll do something similar, which is count, make use of async pipe. Again this can throw error, I don't know. For that let me check if async pipe, okay, we have a common module, so we don't need to import it, so we can directly use async pipe here. Let's save all the changes and let's see things in action again. Now if I increment, right, can you see this? My data is maintained here as well as my data is also getting displayed. So this is what the reactivity I was talking about, that once you update your state in the one component, it will also get reflected in the another component. Okay, and if you want to achieve it, you have to create subject, behavior subject, do that, subscribe and all that. But with NGRX store you can make things all centralized, and that's what simple it is, to be honest. Okay, so that's how you maintain a global state inside your Angular application by using NGRX. Again, if you want to play around with this application, I will be pushing it out on the GitHub, and I will provide the GitHub link in the description, so you can take a look and you can start using, or you can start creating your application based on this NGRX state management. Alright guys, so that's it from this today's video. If you guys need some more example about, like, if you want me to create a add to cart application by using NGRX store, then do let me know that in the comment section. if I see 10 plus comment, right, so I will definitely go ahead and create that video for you so that things can become more clear for you guys. All right. Also, if you have loved my content, then please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel, and also share this video with your friends so that they can also learn this coolest state management things in Angular. Also guys, if you want to connect with me on all my social links, so I provide all the links in the description, so you can go ahead in my description and you can follow me on all my social networks. I will be happy to connect with you guys. And if anyone from you are interested in writing blogs, then do connect with me so that I can assign you a role for Let's Program blog, where you can write articles and you can share it with your friends so that they can also learn new things what you have learned by writing these articles. All right. And also if you want to have some request like video where you want to learn something new, whether it is Angular, React, .NET, Node.js, then please do let me know in the comment section. I will happy to see those comments and start working on that video for you guys to make things easy for you. All right, so that's it. Then enjoy your rest of your day, keep learning, keep coding, and see you in the next video.